Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Good afternoon, Manitoba female U18 AAA Hockey League fans, and to another edition of the MFHL podcast. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. We are, officially hours away, almost exactly 3 hours away from the 2026 MFHL final, going down for the first game at the Hockey for All Center tonight, as, of course, the Winnipeg Ice are the top seed through for the Eastman Selects, defending champs, the second seed heading into this year's championship matchup. As Eastman looks to go back-to-back, the Ice look to claim what would be their third title in franchise history. It's their fourth final made in the past 5 seasons, narrowly missing out last year, losing 5 games to their biggest rival in the Winnipeg Avros. We showed you the schedule as well as that poster to start off this edition of the show. As for the first 3 games, they're all scheduled on our Uscreen service right now, gshowproductions.uscreen.io. You can also check out all of these finals games through the MFHL's homepage on their website. Depending on how long this series goes, we're going to have Game 4, possibly even Game 5 if it goes the distance, as Winnipeg, the top seed, they get home ice advantage through Games 1 and 3, and Game 5 if it goes to 5, and for Eastman they would get Game 2, and if it goes to 4, then Game 4 at home as well. And by the way, we're looking to give back as much as possible to you fans, so you can watch the MFHL finals for less with our early bird sale. The first one ended today at noon, but on noon of every game day the deal will expire, so Game 2, Game 3, they're both available for $7 right now, but Game 1 is set to $10 officially at this point. Thank you to everyone who has used the early bird sale so far. I know we had a few today, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what type of crowd we can get tonight on our live stream. I'm sure that the crowd down at the Hockey for All Center, as well as at every single one of these games, is going to be packed just like last year, which last year saw the second title in the Eastman Selects history. They were 8-0 up until that Game 3 matchup of their finals, where they learned it wasn't going to be so easy to close out last year's Winnipeg Avros. Well, heading into this series, I'm not sure if we're going to get the same type of theatrics in terms of the team going up 2-0 and then, being a forced Game 5 and then, of course, double overtime. That ended up being the way it ended. I could see it ending in double OT, but I feel like this year, this finals around, both teams are going to be locked in from the very get-go, and both teams are going to bring us high-intensity, really high-quality hockey, and I think it could go either way in this final series. We're going to break it down coming up next. We're going to hit you with another commercial from Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, and then I'll be back to show you what the tale of the tape is between the two teams this year. We're also going to talk about the players to watch in this upcoming finals, and then I'm going to get into what I feel each team needs to do to be able to bring home the provincial crown this year in the MFHL U18 AAA scene in the province of Manitoba. So stick with myself, Graeme Forsyth, as, like I said, we're about just over 3 hours from puck drop. Now I got to get down to the arena right away, so this is going to be a bit of a shorter one, but one to fill you in on everything to do with the finals this year, because this series is going to be quite special. I'm sure of it. I hope it plays out that way. So yeah, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back into the MFHL podcast. And this year in the MFHL's final, like last year, we got the top two teams going at it to battle for the crown. Eastman, of course, as mentioned, looking to go back-to-back. They've been on a mission all year long. But, just reading some articles that have been written on them heading into this series, they know it's not going to be easy. Eugene Kaminsky knows it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be a tall task to beat this Eastman squad, but it's going to be a tall task for both sides. Both teams are pretty evenly matched. We take a look at, how this postseason has gone until this point, how these two teams stack up against each other. There's been a bit more goal scoring from the Winnipeg Ice, a bit less goals given up, and a bit less penalty time, but overall these two sides are pretty even. The power play has been fantastic for the Selects, been pretty darn good for Winnipeg as well, and then their Penalty kill has been out of this world so far, 100% on the PK. Eastman coming in top 3 in this postseason. But in terms of how evenly matched it's been throughout this season, these are statistics from, well, this is still their playoff record, but taking a look at their total records this season. So one sec, just going to pull up the standings on my phone. One moment here. It would be the Winnipeg Ice have 31 wins. They've lost 3 times in total, twice in regulation and once in extra time this year. In terms of regular season, of course, their only loss of the postseason to the Winnipeg Avros came in overtime. As for the Eastman Selects, they're at 30 wins, 3 regulation losses, both in regular season play and in postseason play. Of course, losing to the Westman Wildcats 5-1 in Game 2 of their Final Four series. But yeah, in terms of Eastman, they've lost 2 games in extra time as well. This team has the most goals for and least goals against in terms of all games combined. Power play and penalty kill wise, the Ice consistently have been top in both of those categories, and just a notch down in terms of second in goals for and in goals against. Just one moment here is. We're going to throw it to a promo screen for a moment. One sec, everybody. Alright, looks like the problem's been sorted out. We'll get back into just the previews for both of these teams here. In the number 1 seeded Winnipeg Ice taking on the number 2 seeded Eastman Selects. Neither of these teams have faced off against each other in the finals before. In fact, just trying to think back, I don't really think there's been many times these two teams have faced off against each other in a playoff series. If they have, it's been rare, and of course the Ice are the newest franchise to this league until last year when the Brandon Wheat Kings came in, but they only lasted 1 year, of course. But as for the Winnipeg Ice, what a story it's been for this team throughout their time, being able to now make it to, well, technically it's their 5th championship if you count 2019-2020 when they made it against the Winnipeg Avros, a series that never got played. But in terms of post-pandemic, it's their 4th final series that they've reached, looking for title number 3. Eastman also looking for title number 3 as they won their 2nd in U18 history last year, which was their best season of all time. But this year it was the Winnipeg Ice who were just a bit better than the Eastman Selects overall. Even though Eastman did win the season series, it was close, 2-1-1 against the Ices. One of those losses came in extra time. For Eastman against Winnipeg. But in terms of the players to watch in this series, the players that I feel have a chance to be most impactful, starting off on the Eastman Select side of things, they need these two offensive pieces to come through big time. They've been on their top line all season long, and that's Emily Carrier and Delaney Rigaud. Carrier is the leading point getter on the Selects, just continues to have an amazing rookie season, winning Rookie of the Year and leading the way for a veteran Eastman Select squad. But I also put Veda Rigaud on this list too, and for Veda, she's way down in the points. It's not been her usual standard, but she's been playing really good defense. So if they can get that same type of defensive play and see her level up her game, she's definitely going to be a player to watch, as she's got the most potential to strike big on this Eastman blue line, just given her skill set. And then goaltending wise, Labossiere, technically perfect till this point, but she did get pulled in their only loss against the Westman Wildcats. Addison Tomes, goalie of the year this season, had a save percentage below 900 up until the last two games against the Westman Wildcats, but really came through huge for her squad, playing a huge part in them being able to close out that series. So, on the side of things for the Eastman Selects, it's just about, can those players elevate, and elevation is going to be a huge theme in this series, just given how tightly matched these teams are. It's going to be whichever team I feel like can get their top guns to show out the most probably gives them their best chance, and one of Eastman's big guns is in the goal, in Addison Tomes, the backbone of this team. I assume they roll with her every single game in this final series. You have to roll with your best at this point. No hard feelings, of course. Isabelle Labossiere has been very good in her second season, but championship on the line. Tomes not only, I think, needs to start every game, but needs to find her A game, and that starts tonight, of course. And for Eastman, it's going to be players outside of that top line too, right, that got to get it going. Their depth is their biggest strength. As an offense, it's been pretty spread out this year, even though they got those top-end players like Delaney Rigaud, Emily Carrier up front. You need to get players like Isabella Carrier going, Cheyenne Scott-Cook, maybe your rookie talent in terms of Sasha Lambert, as well as Summer Rae, other returnees like Caitlin Schroeder in the mix, right? Maya Grenier, who plays on that top line. So all of these players got to be able to get it going for Eastman, as well as their back end, and that, in my opinion, this series, as good as Reese Beavis and Chloe Carrier have been leading the defense in points for Eastman, Veda Rigaud, if she can find another level in her game, gives Eastman even more of an advantage here. Any advantage they can take, they'll take in this series. I feel like against the Winnipeg Ice team, who has a few players in the top 10 in scoring, and while one of the players near the top is Cassie Carvalho, 14 points in 7 games played, the senior forward, averaging 2 points per game. Claire Hudson leads all defensemen in scoring throughout the postseason with 11 points, and then Sophie Wozosensky, not quite at a point per game, but she's been so impactful away from the puck, with the puck. She does so many little things well and creates so many opportunities for her line mates. Same with Gabby Robbins. Both her and Sophie Wozosensky have been really good along the boards. But yeah, a player like Sophie in this series is going to be big time, playing on what the Ice's second line is, much like the Eastman Selects for the Winnipeg Ice. Their depth scoring is going to be crucial in this series, and I feel like they may argue that, hey, our depth has been looking a bit better throughout the playoffs compared to the team we're going to be going up against the finals, right, in the Eastman Selects. So yeah, of course, Carvalho is going to be big time in this series for them. She has to be. It's like your last dance, right, or final season. But Sophie Wozosensky getting her first taste of the finals. Look for her to be a significantly impactful player for this Winnipeg Ice team, looking to drive the bus on their second line. And then goaltending-wise, an advantage that Eastman, I feel like, had heading into this series over many, if not every single team. While for the Winnipeg Ice, they proved that they can match that in their own goal, right? In terms of Gina Plett having the best save percentage and tied for the best record in her postseason so far. And then in net, well, the counterpart to Gina Plett has been better than the counterpart to Addison Tomes by the numbers in Isla Matthews. And we saw Isla come out and weather the storm. Coming up big time with some big saves down the line in that series against the Winnipeg Avers, stepping up in game number 2 when, Winnipeg was a loss away from going down 2-0 in that series. Matthews, for the type of player she is, a rookie, that was pretty impressive to see. So the Winnipeg Ice this year, as Ferdy Nelson and I talked about heading into this postseason, it just seems like they're deeper this year, and that also falls into goaltending. If, Gina Plett falters, I think Eugene Kaminsky is going to be very confident going to his backup netminder in terms of Isla Matthews. But I feel like this is a series where Gina Plett, she's risen to pretty much every single occasion this season. She needs to rise to the occasion again. The Winnipeg Ice, simply put, no matter who you're going against, you need to get the better goaltending in the final series. And also, well, for those 3 players that I mentioned in terms of Hudson, Carvalho, and Wasisensky, if those 3 can get their games going and their teammates follow suit around them, and Winnipeg is feeling themselves, they feel that confidence getting offensive contributions from both the front end and back end. Once they get their game going, they've been nearly impossible to stop this year. A lot to handle. Teams haven't been quite able to hold them off. But if there's any team that can, it's the Eastman Selects. And when we come back, as we're going to throw it to a few different shots as we take a break here, we're going to get into talking about the keys for both sides in this series from a team aspect, in terms of what it's going to take for them to bring home the provincial crown this year. And then we're also going to show you an update on what's happening in the Saskatchewan Female U18 AAA Hockey League playoffs. Coming up next on this edition of the MFHL Podcast 2026 Finals Preview on your home of MFHL hockey coverage on G-Show Productions and gshow.ca. And welcome back to the MFHL podcast. Just finished showing you there the finals broadcast schedule. Those are all the games that are scheduled in this series too. It's a best of 5 starting tonight in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We've gotten into the players to watch in this series, how those players could play significant roles in this upcoming finals. And now we're going to get into, talking about the keys to the game for both of these teams heading into this final series. Also, by the way, for every game day up until 12 p.m., you can get an early bird Forsyth special, which is $7, which is $3, aka 30% off the regular $10 price for our 2026 MFHL Finals coverage on your home for MFHL action on gshowproductions.ustream.io. If you've missed this deal, I still recommend tuning in if you're a big fan of the female hockey scene here in the province, because look, outside of the West Regional Series, this is the best hockey this level sees all season long. And this even better because there's provincial pride on the line, a provincial crown for both of these teams, is both looking to add on their third in their program's history. Eastman did it as recently as last year for Winnipeg, 2 seasons ago in 2023-2024. But in terms of the key to the game for both of these sides coming up in the final, as we showed you the players to watch, we'll show you, of course, the top 10s, or I guess top 5s, that is, as 3 Winnipeg Ice players in this top 5, as there's a tie, Hudson and Cairns with each other with 11 points. Best save percentages, Gina Plett, Addison Tomes, both in the top 5 too in this series. Same with Isla Matthews. Shout out to the 2 Winnipeg Avers goaltenders, as Almeida and Cohen-Howen. Almeida, of course, with another great performance in the postseason, even though they were unable to get back in the finals. But Anya Cohen-Howen, only her first year in the league, future is bright for the Avers in goal if they're able to build around her, like they were able to around Almeida throughout these past 2 seasons. But yeah, we know in this series, both goaltenders, they're looking to be locked in. The Winnipeg Ice, they've been able to find more goal scoring, as mentioned, compared to the Eastman selects. As we take a look at their postseason stats right now, Eastman was the highest scoring team in the province this season, with a few more compared to the Winnipeg Ice. But it's about what you've done lately, right? And postseason is different than the seasons before in terms of regular season tournament play. The Winnipeg Ice have been able to find a high level, especially as that Final Four series went along, whereas while the Eastman selects got it done with their great defensive play, great goaltending, but they're going to need a bit more offensively in this series. As I mentioned, depth needs to come through huge. Not only do they need it from their top line, but they need it from all 3 lines, and all 3 lines are capable of scoring. Same thing for the Winnipeg Ice, right? You need to find scoring from your 3 lines, which they have throughout this series. They'd love to see Kate Cairns going again, as all 7 of her goals came in the first round, but she's been such a great piece of that top line skill, and outside of that, they got levels right with the Jones line, as her wingers have been Wasikensky and Gabby Robbins. And then, taking a look at that third line, I know Chloe Nicholas, Marin Temple, and then Hallie Chaplik. So it's a lot to handle for the Eastman selects, which means that, if the Winnipeg Ice have a bit more of an offensive advantage in terms of their goal scoring heading in, this team, very much like the Eastman selects, love to get their cycle going, which means for the Eastman selects, you got to be that much more precise in your own end. You got to find ways to cut down the middle of the ice to try to break their speed a bit, and you got to be on point with your board battles. I think that board battles for both sides is going to be crucial in this game, or not only in this game tonight, but throughout this series in terms of who comes out with more of them. I think we'll find more success in this series. And then it comes down to the finishing aspect of things, right? Once you are able to get the puck back on those opportunities, forcing turnovers off the forecheck and whatnot. Discipline for both of these sides. We know they're both going to take penalties. It's about who can elevate their game on the power play. The Ice, their PK hasn't been broken as of yet. The Eastman Selects have been operating over 50% on the power play in this postseason, and if they can find a way to be opportunistic with the man advantage, continue to skate with this Winnipeg Ice team. Addison Tomes comes up with the big saves, the pathway to the Eastman Selects, although it's not clear to winning, that gives them a great chance to be able to do so, right? And then it's very much the same for the Winnipeg Ice as well, right? keep your special teams efficiency up, maybe elevate on that power play a bit more, but they had no problems with that against the Winnipeg Avers. But the determining factor in this series, and Ferdy Nelson said it, will most likely be in the goal. And much like for Addison Tomes, if she can make the saves that she has this season, gives Eastman a great chance. Well, for the Winnipeg Ice, of Gina Plett, who I assume it's going to be her net in this series until she loses it otherwise, if she can elevate her play and continue to help stymie this Eastman Selects attack, the path to Winnipeg for winning is definitely there in this series. But I think that this is going to be a hard check-in, tight-fought series between two of Manitoba's best in the female U18 AAA Hockey League scene. I think it's going to come down to one or two big moments, to be honest with you, Manitoba female U18 AAA Hockey League fans, and I can't wait to be there to call all of the action, as the final series will be starting off tonight in Winnipeg, Manitoba, as the Winnipeg Ice play host to the Eastman Selects in this best-of-5 provincial final. Before we let you go, just want to let you in on what's happening in the Saskatchewan female U18 AAA Hockey League, as there will be a new winner in this league. Battleford's avenging their finals loss last year against the Saskatoon Stars, as Saskatoon, their season ends in the semifinals. Battleford's able to come away with the 2-0 sweep. The first game, a bit of a blowout, 7-2. Second game, a lot closer, needed 4-3 in overtime. As for Swift Current, it was also a lot closer in the semifinals compared to their first round, where they blew the doors off of Notre Dame. But yeah, for Swift Current, they're off to the final, which starts this Saturday against Battleford's. All those stats can be found on the Saskatchewan female U18 AAA Hockey League's website, sfu18AAAHL.com, as Battleford's number one team in the league again this year, getting back to the finals. Swift Current, the best playoff team so far, a +19 goal differential thanks to a huge first round against the Notre Dame Hounds. Can't wait to see how that finals turns out. We're going to be back next week, when we'll most likely be back for coverage after the first two games, as game number 2 goes on Sunday afternoon. Be sure to catch it on gshow Productions. .uscreen.io, as we're going to have all these games up until the very end, depending on how long this series goes. Comment down below how many games you think this series goes and who you think takes this year's Manitoba Provincial Female U18 AAA Hockey Crown. As that's going to do it for this edition of the MFHL podcast. I've been your host, Graeme, the G Show Forsyth. Be sure to tune into the MFHL finals. Of course, a portion of your money that you spend goes directly back to the MFHL to help us subsidize costs and help fuel our mission of growing the female hockey game here in the prairies. Special thanks to our sponsors, as always, in Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terrico Movement Fitness and Performance Lead Prospects, and Goaltenders for sponsoring another edition of this show. And a special thanks, of course, always to you, the viewer, for tuning in and supporting our network. If you are new here, want to stay up to date with when new episodes come out, well, the easy way to fix that is subscribe, turn on notifications. Helps us, helps you, and it would be much appreciated if you do that. If not, though, we do still appreciate you for tuning in to this edition of the MFHL podcast. Really excited for how this series is going to go this year. It's a clash between the best in female hockey in Manitoba, as this one, I think, could go down to the very end, to the wire this year, as both teams are fast, both teams play a very strong team game. Both teams are not afraid to just throw pucks at the net. Both teams have great goaltenders. Probably the two most well-built teams in the MFHL. All around, both teams feel like they're very similar to each other. Extremely well coached, and yeah, all signs point to it being another all-time classic of an MFHL final here in 2026. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you then. Like I said, I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth. Peacing out and waving so long, everybody. Hope to see you tuning into Game 1 tonight, as well as all of the games in our MFHL Final Series, as your support helps support the athletes in this great league. And for those who just tune into the podcast, well, we can't wait to touch base with you next week in terms of how this Final Series has gone up until that point. Take care, everybody. Thanks again for watching.